we can start on time. So good morning and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, which is the last of this first series of roadshow webinars for Gilgit-Baltistan Investment Conference. This obviously the partners in this event, in this whole event, we are supported by the Board of Investment of Pakistan and obviously TDAP, Rupani Foundation, Re-Energia, BITE, Karakoram University, University of Baltistan are the central partners to the gbinvest.org, which is partnering with the government of GB to bring these roadshow webinars to you, and also leading to the final investment conference for this year on the 24th of February in Dubai, which is being held on the sidelines of the 2020 Dubai Expo. And as you know, that this is the JB month at the Pakistani Pavilion in Dubai. So we have a good lineup of speakers today. I and Wasim will be moderating. Wasim Samad from Rupani Foundation will be moderating the event today. First and foremost, I thought it would be good to bring a quick introduction to what is the initiative that we are doing. And after that, we will be taking the speakers in the following order: Brigadier Amir Yaqub, Mr. Shahid Sattar, Mr. Saim Ali, Mrs. Gurchin, and it will be followed by other speakers, and it will be rounded up by Dr. Salman Shah, who will conclude today's webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, gbinvest.org is basically a structured investment of. Are my slides moving? Let me share my screen, ladies and gentlemen.
Your slide is not moving.
Okay, does it move now? So the whole investment goal of the gbinvest.org is to sustain the core values of Gilgit-Baltistan. As most of you know, Gilgit-Baltistan is a very unique area, also known as the third pole, with the largest collection of ice outside the two poles, the north and the south. It is also the meeting of the three great mountain ranges, Karakoram, Hindu Kush, and Himalayas. But most important of all, the reason we have to protect this very pristine ecosystem is because 60% of Pakistan's water either flow through or from Gilgit-Baltistan, making it therefore the custodian of Pakistan's natural resources. So just at the start of the conference, to get the audience to understand where we are and what we're talking about, a quick video to bring the audience and us on the same page.
Gilgit-Baltistan, the land of opportunity, the island of peace, the jewel of Pakistan. A gateway which connected ancient empires along the Silk Route is today the doorway of Pakistan-China Economic Corridor, a game changer for many countries around the world. Home to more than 9 languages, Gilgit-Baltistan offers a unique flavor of traditions, hospitality and solidarity. Rich in culture and arts, home to smiling and welcoming people. The region has emerged as one of the top tourist destinations in the world. Gilgit-Baltistan is the custodian of Pakistan's natural resources. Largest glaciers outside polar regions, highest mountain ranges on Earth, and richest mineral resources in the world. Gilgit-Baltistan is turning into a regional hub due to increased connectivity, improved infrastructures and technology. Both men and women actively participate in the development and prosperity of the region. The government of Pakistan is welcoming and is keen for the development of the region. The land of opportunity is now opening doors for the world to explore its riches with responsibility.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for watching My computer is a little slow today, but we shall not let that deter us. I would now like to present and hand over the floor to Brigadier Amir Yaqub. And all of you should know that we will be doing the description and presentation of parts of our investment activities and this whole GB investment initiative in parts today as we introduce speakers. Brigadier Amir Yaqub has 36 years of versatile experience. He's the Director, Operation and Collaborations at the NUST Institute of Policy Studies. It's one of the premier think tanks in the capital. I've had the honor of knowing him for the last 8 years. He brings a unique perspective on Gilgit-Baltistan, as NIPS has been very active in promoting and working with the government of GB. So without further ado, since he has very little time and has to go and receive a dignitary, so maybe over to you, Brigadier Saab.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and good morning. I first of all like to thank the organizer of this event. This is, in fact, a subject which is very close to most of the people's heart. In fact, like he very rightly said, this region has been a sort of forgotten region till very recently. Let me give you a little bit of statistics. This region, which is 8 times the size of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, has a population of just around 1.5 million. More than 50 peaks above 7,000 and 5 of the 8,000 or more higher peaks in the world. This particular region has 10 districts, and at the time of partition had little connectivity. In fact, in this region, aircrafts moved before the trucks moved in. The main source of traveling was essentially by air. With its little bit of history, the human presence has been traced back as far back as 2000 years BC. Sufi Muslims from Persia and Central Asia were the first ones actually who moved in to have an influence in this region. It has tremendous potential. In fact, with the coming in of CPEC, this region has started to proffer huge amount of investment opportunities. And I have listed some of them, and I think I'll just start giving you certain examples, and I think those will start to clarify a number of things. China imports $5 billion worth of cherries from a country as far as Chile, while its very next neighbor, Gilgit-Baltistan, has immense amount of this particular fruit. Not just this fruit, in fact, the region is full of various other fruits and can certainly contribute in many ways. Amir Zafar Durrani has talked of tourism. I can tell you, tourism has many facets. And I think faith-based, health-based, in fact, the region is extremely a healthy region, as should you call it. This region can proffer a huge tourism potential in the form of, like I said, academic, faith-based, health-based, adventure tourism, and all the shades that you can possibly think of. This particular region has the potential to extend these services. Social entrepreneurship, promotion, experimental research parks, and essentially the one that we are talking right here, MICE, the meetings, incentives, conferencing, and exhibitions. This area is huge in that aspect. Vahan corridor, we have talked of connectivity right inside Pakistan, but I can tell you this connectivity in terms of connecting the regions, north, south, east, west, through Vahan and through other various corridors is huge. This area also has the potential to offer environment-friendly agriculture setting demonstration zones, the language teaching institutions, green economy, the digital economy. Remember, this area is widely spaced. The towns and people are widely dispersed. So a probably more decentralized sorts of developments will offer the best options. Uh, I have, like I mentioned, that this particular region can offer all sorts of opportunity. We know that tourism, the one that we essentially know, its various facets in the form of setting up of hotels, businesses, tour operators. So the outside world can also have a huge scope for immediate investments and immediate returns. So my point is that this area, rightly mentioned in the opening small video clip, can surely add to the value in Pakistan's economy and regional and global economy. Thank you very much.
Brigadier Sir, thank you very much. And I know you are tight on time. And I also want to thank NUST Institute of Public Policy, and especially also Dr. Ashfaq and you for making this happen. And we hope that on the 24th, you will also participate in our hybrid event with the government of GB, which is the investment conference. Ladies and gentlemen, after Amir Yaqub, I have to acknowledge that we are joined also by the Additional Chief Secretary of Gilgit-Baltistan, Mr. Jamali. Mr. Jamali is also there. And good morning, Mr. Jamali. I know that it's a tad early there. You have been traveling. So it's lovely to have you online. And please, I will take an intervention from you as the time goes along, but maybe you want to say a few opening words before I move along. Over to you, Jamali sir.
Sorry, Amir, you are not audible. आपकी आवाज कम है.
Yeah, so Jamali sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, but barely.
Am I audible to the rest of the audience?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Clearly, sir.
Yeah. So maybe we can see what is the issue. Maybe somebody can call.
No, you just repeat what you said last, and inshallah, I'll continue.
Yeah, so I was just introducing you, Jamali Saab. We wanted you to say a few words for opening this. I think you've heard Brigadier Amir Yaqub. So over to you for just a couple of words before we move to the next speaker.
Thank you so much. I'm taking this opportunity to I won't say introduce, but attract more for Gilgit-Baltistan, utilizing this opportunity for which we have gathered all. And I'm really amazed to see honorable and eminent personalities with me on this webinar. You see, the challenge with Gilgit-Baltistan is, despite being peaceful, despite hosting a very small and sparse population, despite hiding so many natural potentials, it hasn't given its best, or it hasn't had its best as a symbol of prosperity. You see, just less than 2 million people residing in a 75,000 square kilometers of area, hosting almost all, if I don't say all, the major source of waters in Pakistan. And the only challenge has been that it has been far from rest of the country or the world. And that challenge, as our first speaker just mentioned, has been minimized, and it's improving day by day, courtesy the interventions and projects of CPEC. Road connectivity has improved. Air connectivity is Skardu being declared as international airport. So, and Gilgit stands as a potential next. We have a lot of opportunity to introduce and attract investors into the area. And tourism has been the hallmark, but as I bank upon this opportunity of webinar, we should go in GB even beyond tourism and certain specific subsectors of tourism as well. Cultural and religious tourism, I see it's still yet to be tapped and projected more than others. Ecotourism, agro-tourism, I see are yet to be introduced and projected. And the mines and minerals potential of GB is less tapped, or I think it's in rudimentary phases as far as our current progress stands. And of course, it's not the government's forte. I must admit, and I must attract the private investment in this sector over here. And going beyond, a couple of experiments in, say, organic agricultural products await in Gilgit-Baltistan. If I add more into that, the power sector, because we host all the waters in Pakistan, almost all the waters in Pakistan, but the power shortfall still is faced by the population in Gilgit-Baltistan. The total, I would say, demand in GB is hardly 400 megawatts. The production is way almost 1/3 of that. And as we try to cater it in the government parlance, or our way of development cycle, I would say, we fall short only because by the time we achieve some milestone in power management or power sector production, our population or our demand overpasses again. So that challenge can be met through public-private partnerships, as I foresee further. And a lot of other things we can explore as investors come, see, and gain more about more of interest in this region, its population, and its culture. That's how I put it briefly. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you for these opening remarks on behalf of the government of Gilgit-Baltistan. I would like to just tell the audience that we also are now fortunate. Hassan Daud Bhatt Saab, the chairman of the KP Board of Investment and Technology, has also joined us. So I just wanted to also explain that we will go in the following order. We will now invite Shahid Sattar Saab. Before I bring Shahid Sattar, let me just say, Shahid Saab, the sectors we are focusing on in this investment conference are tourism, agribusiness, minerals and mining, tech-based ventures, renewable energy, trade and commerce. As you can see, a lot of the time, government, like in the case of KP, we saw there was a lot of interest in tourism, but KP already is a connected province. KP already vis-a-vis physical and virtual connectivity does not face the challenges that sometimes GB does. So therefore, we thought it would be very important for all of us to make sure that the peripheral sectors to tourism, take energy, for example, take special economic zones as an example, take trained hospitality staff as an example. So there's this is a very holistic initiative that we've been undertaking, and I'm very happy that we will be having this investment conference 24th. But ladies and gentlemen, Shahid Sattar Saab, the current Secretary General and Executive Director of All Pakistan Textile Mills Association. Shahid Saab brings a very diverse career. He has been member energy of the Planning Commission. He's been advisor to the Ministry of Finance, to the Ministry of Petroleum, to the Ministry of Water and Power, senior management positions in the World Bank, USAID, DFID, and most importantly, with several publications, happens to be a close personal friend. Shahid Saab, lucky to have you here. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say that foreign investment is fine, but until you get your own people, Pakistanis, to start to invest, foreign people cannot have the confidence to invest in Pakistan or in any subsectors of Pakistan or in any areas of Pakistan unless our own people are also eager and anxious to do so. This has been my experience that the biggest investment chunk that comes is from our own industry, from our own people. And APTMA represents virtually all the big houses in Pakistan, all the big business houses. And recently, because of the problems in FATF and because they have become far more profitable than in the past, everybody has funds available to invest. This has manifested itself in a $5 billion investment in the textile sector over the last year and a half. But we still have a lot more appetite to invest. So I've been thinking, how is it that we can invest in Gilgit-Baltistan, and how can we help the GB Invest initiative? So I've come up with 3 ideas. Number one idea is that since Gilgit-Baltistan has a very high literacy rate, far greater than the rest of the country, then perhaps, we should construct a training center for management or middle management in some part of Gilgit-Baltistan, funded by APTMA, its members, to train people to come as middle management in the textile sector in the rest of the country. Why we can't move the textile sector into the north is because obviously they have a serious problem with energy. And until that energy problem is resolved, you can't really have serious industry. Now, coming to that also leads to another point, that why not in energy? So we as APTMA are open and willing to invest in GB, in projects that help the people, that help and meet our corporate social responsibility requirements, and for the betterment of the people of GB, for providing us trained and literate management, and allow investment opportunities of very high class, because what GB has is a lot of investment in middle class tourism spots. What we would be looking for is very, very high class tourist attractions, say skiing resorts or things like that, for which we would be happy to partner with GB Invest. And should you have a portfolio of projects that you want to be taken up, I would be happy to circulate amongst our members and to get them on board, because we are looking for other areas and changing our portfolio to a certain extent, not as a money-making thing, but also as part of our social responsibility. I think this idea of taking taking this social responsibility into investment has to be further hammered home, so that Pakistani businesses start, looking after the people who enable them to make profits of the quality and quantity they are making these days. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I would also be happy to sign a formal agreement and to have a screening study to see how we can help. Thank you.
Shahbhai, thank you very much. And I think I would like Chairman Nasruddin Saab to acknowledge that, this is really a first offer from APTMA, and this is the Rich Boys Club of Pakistan, and we are very happy. And inshallah, I think that Chairman Saab, just 1 minute, if you can just have any questions for Shahid, because Dr. Nadeem is not well, so he has just joined. So if you can say a few words, and then I want to give the floor to him. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Shahid Bhai. This is a great news that you have shared with us. We love to partner, and thank you for all your offer you have offered to the GB, and thank you for all your nice comments about and suggestions that you have given. We really appreciate your comments and look forward working with you. And inshallah, like you said, we have a very good trained talent that GB can provide to the rest of the country. As you just said, that we have a very literate community in GB that can be a good resource for businesses that are upcoming in Pakistan. Well, thank you very much again, everyone, for joining, and thank you, all of you, and thank you, GB government, for allowing us to be part of it, and very excited to see you all in Dubai. Hope you all can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Nadeem, are you there?
Ji.
Yeah, Dr. Saab, if I may quickly introduce you to the audience, and thank you for joining despite your illness. Dr. Saab is a Chicago School economist, wide-ranging operational experience. But most importantly, for those of you who don't know him, he has written a book called How Pakistan Became the Asian Tiger. I'm sure I said the title wrong, but it is a book that looks back in 2050 and talks about what made Pakistan great. And a big lesson for us, because he's a great promoter of conversations and discussions, and we love him. And Dr. Saab, welcome, and I hope you feel better after this, and thanks again. Over to you.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you. It's a pleasure to participate in GB Invest. I think every area, every city, every country, every region should have an investment strategy and think about how to develop themselves and their people further. So obviously, it's a very welcome development, and my thanks to Rupani Saab for setting up this initiative. Rupani Saab has taken a major initiative because he comes from the region. We thank him for taking this initiative. The only thing I would say is that you've done a great job getting this thing going, and I hope it'll be very successful. But I think we have to be very careful about defining investment. In poor countries, we have lots of investment conferences, lots of investment shows, and we get investors to come in. But then the question is, what do we get out of it? So we should not just think of investment, we should think of what the region will get out of such investment, and we should try and promote that. So it requires a lot of thought, a lot of clarity as to what kind of investment should come in. Now, Gilgit-Baltistan, obviously, and I won't say it has a special privilege. All regions in the world represent investment opportunities. I think probably the most interesting investment opportunity that I came across in my life is Las Vegas, which is like in the middle of nowhere in a desert. And yet, imagination made it into maybe $1 trillion venture. Same thing for Dubai. Dubai is nowhere. Dubai is nothing. But they made a huge advantage out of it. So the key thing is, how do you make your own resource, or whatever you have, not even resource, even if you have nothing, like Las Vegas is nothing, Dubai is nothing, you make it into, Dubai has at least a sea, Las Vegas doesn't even have the sea, Las Vegas absolutely nothing, and yet it has made it into an advantage. All it requires is imagination. And I think what we need now from Gilgit-Baltistan also is a lot of imagination on how to make their investments work, how to make things work for them. And here I think is an opportunity for early investors to get in there and set the rules of the game to make that a very viable investment opportunity. Again, I point to another very interesting thing. For example, take Davos. Davos is a village with nothing in it, but Carl Schwab's imagination has made it into multi-billion-dollar, or I would say even a huge trillion-dollar venture or something now we are talking about. So I think investment really requires imagination, and whichever early investors get in there, I would say the opportunity is to reimagine the whole area. It has beauty, it has minerals, it has a lot of things, but minerals I don't make too much of. I think minerals can be a curse too, as we know very well from the literature. Minerals are a big problem. Minerals are never make a people. They always destroy a people unless people know how to use them imaginatively. So the key issue, the only resource that people have is imagination. Now it's up to the Gilgit-Baltistan people, Rupani Saab, people like that, to try and figure out what the imagination of Gilgit-Baltistan is. How do you make it into a value proposition? And ultimately, a mountain is a mountain unless it's made into a value proposition. Coal is coal unless you make it into value proposition. So ultimately, everything lies in the human imagination. And here I find, when I've only been to Gilgit-Baltistan once or twice, but the people that I've met are very gracious, very kind, very lovely people, and they have a certain mountain cosmopolitanism about them. And I think they have imagination, they have that dream, but really it's up to them to now make their dream, and the early investors to go in there and show them how to make their dream, how to realize the potential of Gilgit-Baltistan, which I think really can be enormous or can be nothing, depending on how we treat it. If we treat it the same way as setting up normal factories, it will not go very far. But if we treat it with due diligence, that look, here is a beautiful region that can be the next Davos or the next Switzerland of the world, then we have a huge value coming out of it. And if they treat the minerals and the other resources, very good resources, well, with kindness, with sustainability, with thought, this could be a huge value proposition for the world. Thank you.
Also, thank you very much. And what a defining statement. Investment requires imagination. It's about how you create the value proposition. In the words of Stephen Nicholas Durkon, an economist, I think Dr. is very familiar. I heard him at PIDE during Asad Zaman's days. He came here on behalf of DFID, acting as their chief economist at the time. I think it was many years back. But his defining statement, Dr. that he also made was, and it goes back to Shahid's statement and your statement, he said that a country whose own elite do not invest in their own country should not be out there looking for foreign direct investment. And I think if we couple that, the message that Shahid left and what you just said about how we define its important thing is what is investment. And I think I'm so happy you clarified this because, you know, in over these webinars, I have been watching a lot of people getting really anxious about what are the motives behind GB Invest. And I've had quite a bit of back and forth with local people from the various political bents about thinking that this is yet another investment show. But with that, I think we want to take it forward. And I want to raise a few points before I introduce Saim, that GB Invest and the government of GB is very well aware of the fact that we are trying to what we call do impact investment, which looks at job creation, it looks at better incomes, it looks at women inclusion, youth participation, it looks at, you know, reduced dependency on government support, a very key thing. So I think the next speaker is going to talk more about that. Sam, again, and I'm sorry, it's not that I invited all my friends, it's just that all my friends are much brighter and smarter than I am. So I had to force call all of them. Saim is the head of risk and analytics and the chief economist, Bank of Punjab. Saim's prior history, he was a colleague of mine at the World Bank, then became and went to the regional Untitled Chapter and has worked at the UN. Lastly, he was the advisor to the finance minister during Hafiz Sheikh's time, and he now currently heads the risk portfolio of Bank of Punjab. Saim, lovely having you here, and tell us what you want to talk about in terms of how we can make this happen.
Thank you, Amir. So first of all, I would like to congratulate you and all the organizers. It's a fantastic initiative. Having spent time in Gilgit-Baltistan, I have extremely fond memories of that place. Both the people and the places that I visited. So, you know, I do see huge potential. And it's good to see that our policymakers are working towards improving the connectivity of the region. So we are seeing improvements in the infrastructure. Now we see that the Sikardu airport has been open for international flights. These are very good initiatives and will hopefully attract more people to come and visit. And as Dr. Nadeem mentioned, that you know, it is really people that drive investments. So I would like to talk about the investment regime in Pakistan. It is one of the most liberal within our region and probably in the emerging markets. We are one of the few economies that offers 100% ownership to foreign investors, whether it is of assets or whether it is land or equity. So that's a huge incentive. We are one of the few economies that offers 100% repatriation of profits. Again, this is a limitation in most of the emerging markets. Pakistan offers that opportunity where we are seeing whether it is Standard Chartered Bank, whether it is Telenor, whether it is other firms like Nestle, they are making supernatural profits, and they have been able to repatriate these profits without any problems. So that's another huge incentive as far as Pakistan is concerned. Then the investment regime is also liberal in terms of new opportunities. We see that the government offers a 10-year income tax holiday for all new investors, any industry, whether it's agriculture, manufacturing, services. There is a 10-year holiday which is offered to the new investors. There's on the customs duty. So if you want to import capital machinery, that is again at concessional rates. So I think the highest rate is around 5% on machinery and capital goods. So that makes it one of the most liberal, one of the most attractive regimes as far as foreign investment is concerned. And now we are moving towards the special economic zones. So the government has earmarked 19 special economic zones. Some of these are part of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. So what they're offering is a single window operation. They're offering concessional land for setting up of your companies. And they're offering all these utilities at your doorstep. So those are, again, something which, foreign investors are looking at in detail. A lot of our clients are looking at possibility of coming in, making investments into these special economic zones as they become operational. Then the government has also opened, they've given special incentives on the technology zones. So they're setting up these for the tech companies and for the young entrepreneurs. They're offering these incentives for setting up your firms in one of these special technology zones, where they will provide you with all the logistical support for setting up your business, for startups. And they're giving both fiscal incentives and they're giving incentives vis-a-vis your networking and your credit, bank credit. So that's another area where the government is facilitating foreign investors. The PPP framework, the public-private partnership framework, has become operational in Pakistan since last year. We are seeing that the government has initiated 3 projects in the last 1 year under the PPP mode. And that's very important given that the infrastructure needs of the region, the GB region, are very significant. So as Shahid Sattar Saab mentioned, energy being a key constraint to new investments, new business in the region. So that's one area which can be looked at, and the framework now exists, and the federal government can execute projects under the PPP mode in that region. So especially for green energy. And on green energy, Pakistan issued its first green bond last year. And it's an area where they are seriously looking at scaling up borrowing from the international markets, given that there's a lot of demand in the international markets for the environmentally sustainable investments. That's an area where GB can take advantage, and new renewable clean energy can be set up in that region, tapping into the global funds which are available. On staying with the investment regime, if you look at the kind of foreign investors that have entered the Pakistani market, whether it's food companies like Nestle and others, they've been partners and they've been present in this market for a very long time, and the kind of profits that they are making, anybody can look at and see how vibrant the domestic market is. There are other sectors, whether it's automobiles, whether it's technology, Uh, these are companies which have basically set up joint ventures here in Pakistan. And again, the automobile sector, for instance, Toyota, Suzuki, Honda, they've been here in the market since the 90s. And the kind of sales that they're doing are increasing every year, and so are their profit margins. And lastly, on the banking sector. So the banking sector of Pakistan is well capitalized. We meet all the international standards for capital adequacy ratios. We are highly liquid, and we are seeing that the banks are scaling up lending to the private sector, especially in the last 2-3 years. And so the banks stand ready to facilitate any kind of investment that is coming into Pakistan. All the key foreign investors, they are facilitated through the banking sector. And as far as GB is concerned, while it is low as far as our penetration is concerned, but nearly all the domestic banks have operations within the GB region. So whether it is the national banks or whether it is the commercial private banks like the HPLs, we are facilitating the private sector in the GB region, and we stand ready to facilitate any new investor that wants to come into the region. Then the question is, then why, given that we have a very liberal investment regime, and we offer very attractive opportunities and incentives, then why hasn't investment really picked up in Pakistan over the last many years? And that really has to do with the political and the macroeconomic risks that foreign investors see here. Political stability remains a challenge in Pakistan, but I can tell you that over the last 3 years, the government has addressed some of the key gaps as far as macroeconomic stability is concerned. We moved to a market-based exchange rate regime, which we used to have a peg regime to the US dollar. And that means that going forward, this boom-bust cycle that the Pakistan economy has faced over the many years will hopefully come to an end. So all these balance of payment crises that we see after every election cycle, that is an area which the current IMF program has sought to address. And if it is successful, it will mean that going forward, Pakistan will not be facing any significant balance of payment challenges, which is very positive as far as foreign investors are concerned. We are seeing some significant banking sector reforms which have been undertaken. The central bank has been given autonomy. They are making their own as far as operational decisions are concerned, whether it is interest rate setting, whether it is exchange rate management, whether it is lending or refinance to certain sectors within the economy, which is again very positive for long-term growth, and it is very positive as far as treating investors fairly is concerned. So, and we've also opened up new avenues. So in the last 2 years, new avenues have been opened by the government for attracting foreign capital into Pakistan. The Roshan digital accounts being a key factor. So this is a regime where the expatriate Pakistanis are being facilitated, and they're being encouraged to invest back into Pakistan. And the government is offering instruments, whether it is dollar returns or whether so they're offering long-term bonds to the expatriate Pakistanis at 7% for dollar investments and around 11% as far as local currency investments are concerned. And through the RDA, the expatriate, the overseas Pakistanis can now also buy assets. So whether they want to buy a house, they want to buy a car, they want to make payments. Those are all now being facilitated through the Roshan Digital Account initiative, through which you can open a bank account without visiting Pakistan. All of this is done digitally, and this allows for more integration of Pakistan our financial markets with the global financial markets.
And that's very kind of you. So I hate to interrupt you. I think you've given
I'll stop there.
Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting layer. You've sort of laid out for all those who wanted to hear what is it that Pakistan is doing for investors. And I think Rupani Saab and I can, vouch for the fact that this was a very comprehensive, for anybody out there, they should now understand that we are open for business, Pakistan's open for business, and GB is open for business. I would like to bring in the Senior Minister, Ubaidullah Beg Saab, who's now online. If Ubaidullah Beg Saab, can you turn on your camera just to introduce Ubaidullah Beg Saab? He is currently the Senior Minister for Trade, Industries and Labor for the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, a Pakistani politician and a member of the GB Assembly, and a former well-decorated army officer, and has done a lot in terms of his activities, especially his recent activities to support the Mokpanda Special Economic Zone. Can you hear me, Ubaidullah Beg Saab? Can you unmute yourself, please? I think we have again lost Mr. Beg. Mansoor, can you, Minister, please go ahead. Please turn on your camera and please try to stay in English as much as possible because we have some international audience in the crowd. Over to you, Minister Saab. Please go ahead. Mansoor, can you have him unmute his mic?
Yes, sir, I think his mic is not enabled at the moment, so he's unable to hear us.
Beg Saab, can you hear us? So I think, well, we will have to move on. As soon as Beg Saab joins, I may actually interrupt the next speaker. But I think I want to bring in a new flavor. Saim, thank you for all that comprehensive description. I want to bring in this Gulchin there. Ma'am Gulchin, are you there?
Ji, I'm here. Thank you so much, Amir Saab.
Excellent. Thank you, Gulchin. Let me quickly, Gulchin Akhil is a regional gender advisor for the Aga Khan Foundation. She has about 17 years of experience in the development sector in Pakistan, and the list of organizations she has worked for is very long. But Gulchin is a Hubert Humphrey Fellow in Gender Economic Development from Michigan State. Wow, one of my favorite universities. So Gulchin, over to you. Maybe you can bring in the female perspective and also highlight how the relatively better gender equity in GB brings out investors and opportunities for all of us. So over to you, Gulchin.
Thank you so much, Amir.
Thank you.
So I'll be quick and I'll definitely build on a lot of points from my previous speakers. I think GB has a very specific and a very unique, characteristics when it comes to the communities. We are already, I think, way ahead from many other communities and compared to other provinces in Pakistan. If you see the literacy rate, the education ratio, it's way high in both sides, and especially I would say among women in some specific areas, it's above 100%. I think the other advantage is that the communities are very well organized. It is because of the distance and also lack of, I would say, government's presence for a very long time. So self-reliance and dependency on our own resources, was always there in it. I myself, I belong to Baltistan, so I'll be using a lot of R's in mine. So please excuse me for that. So I think it's already in our blood and in our culture that we strongly depend on our own resources and, on reciprocal relationships. So I think a lot has been done and said in previous years when it comes to investment potential. The bigger sides are, yes, it's very visible that we have a lot of natural resources. We have some of the highest mountains. We have, all big glaciers in GB. The area is diverse, no doubt. It has a lot of potential when it comes to tourism. And the tourism, I mean, we see, if we see last 3-4 years, there is a huge influx of local tourism there, which is good. I mean, it is contributing into the local economy, but on the other side, I mean, it's very unregularized. So there is need, I think, for some kind of guideline or a policy, you know, because we don't want our area to become, you know, I would say, thank you for giving me the word. I think the other, in the agri side, if we see cherries, yes, apricots, I think we have some of the best apricots in the world. Potato is one potential. I think some of the leading commercial companies, they are producing, you know, a lot of products from potato from GB. So these potentials are definitely there. And I think it has been there. Some organizations, some companies are already working, but it's like all happening in bits and pieces. There is no centralized policy, there is no centralized system. And especially from my own perspective, I mean, women, yes, we talk about women, but there is no, if I go through the policies and system, I mean, there is nothing on women. It's all either gender blind or gender neutral. So we need to review, because women in Baltistan and Gilgit are different from women in, you know, rest of Pakistan. We are very mobile. We have a lot of autonomy. The agency is very strong there. Literacy high. I mean, they are very well organized. Even in the technical and vocational education, in the past few years, I mean, women are doing totally, I would say, non-traditional areas businesses, which is a big success, I think, and it's eye-opening for many other organizations in Pakistan. Plumbing, I mean, construction, carpentry, you name these businesses which are usually associated with men, but women are running very successful entrepreneurs. So there is potential in that side as well. Renewable energy or energy.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think you mentioned carpentry, and I think that reminds me of Shikam. So if you could give the audience a very good, quick run on what they do, and also the music conservatory. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought it would make a great impact if you could give them a brief background.
I mean, they were initiatives of some international development organizations. Yes, the area is very different. The literacy education is very different compared to other provinces, and even in GB from other valleys. I think it's also, there is this drive of need, you know, that these women who are educated, who have technical skills, want to use their, you know, opportunities and also their skills. So with some support, they were able to organize into these professional entrepreneurs, and they are running very successful businesses. I mean, they are getting contracts and demands from leading construction companies, especially these carpentry groups. I mean, and I think their quality and I think that's just tremendous. So they're already making their mark. Recently, I have been interacting with a lot of tourists, Pakistani tourists, and I think for them it was a shocking thing to see these women working in, you know, non-traditional areas, these musical, you know, institutes, some of, you know, these leading restaurants which are run by 100% women. There are markets which are run and managed by only women. I think that exists only in Gilgit-Baltistan. These kind of examples can be replicated and can be highlighted because it has a lot of potential. Again, I think the drive is that because of the distance, because of the culture, because of, you know, a lot of other reasons, socio-cultural reasons, people want to explore existing opportunities, you know, being in their own areas. That is one big, I think, motivation. So why not tap on that? So I would definitely urge that these potentials are there, these advantages are there. We just need to tap them, and we need to maybe review, you know, the procedures, the policies, fiscal policies, I mean, the monetary policies, where women are. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, they are hardly reflected in any other, you know, system or procedures. But again, looking back to the Gilgit-Baltistan, because we are talking about it, there is a lot of growing awareness. So we need to also see where women are. We need how we can make them inclusive, because there is a growing competition between men and women across, you know, board, and same in Gilgit-Baltistan. How we can help. I was very happy to see the panel member. There are people from government, there are people from the private sector. So I think it's providing us a very good forum to think about the women, because there is a big potential. and looking at the socio-culture dynamics, the norms, I think it's easier to work there as well compared to other areas in Pakistan. As I've briefly shared, I've been working as a gender expert and gender developer for a long time. If I compare the provinces and if I compare the areas, I think it's much easier with greater impact to work in Gilgit-Baltistan. So why not? This would be my urge. We have done previously some experiments on gems and gemstones cutting, and they were successful models. So why not? I mean, yeah, we don't want our people to be exploited and excluded, but in a way it is already happening because there is no guideline, there is no system. We carry, some of great semi-precious and precious stones and minerals. They are taken from GB as raw, and the same stone come back. I mean, the same minerals come back with high quality from India and Thailand. So why not we provide the same skills? It was done. So I think probably in very at small scale, and it was successful. So that is also one area. Again, it becomes exploitative when there is no guideline, when there is no policy. So why not think about that?
Gulshan, can I just ask a question very quickly? As a moderator, I'm trying to get the audience to get a few more points from you because you are being the only woman on the panel and with your experience and belonging to Baltistan. I mean, what are the one or two key factors, number one, that, Pakistani investors, diaspora, and other empathizers should look for, or, and what GB offers in terms of this gender participation? So, you mentioned about, non-traditional vocations and the second thing I want you to maybe talk a little bit about is, what is the willingness of the local women to partner with these incoming investors, and how secure do you think is that environment? So a few words on that would be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the factors, as I've shared, the literacy rate, the organization of the communities, the exposure is different there. So why not tap on that? For any investor, for any, I think, organization or a company to go in a new area, let's talk about KP, Balochistan, Punjab, South Punjab, it is still difficult. You need to put a lot of efforts to actually first clarify, who you are, why you are doing. I think you don't need to do that in Gilgit-Baltistan. Because of the community dynamics, because of the education, exposure, and self-reliance, I think people are already, some steps ahead from rest of Pakistan. So there is willingness, there is acceptability. You don't have to spend a lot of time and energy and resources, convincing people and convincing women. So the community dynamic is different. That is a plus point. I think that's one of the key factors, that it's easier to work there. That's why these, some of these experiments that were done, to bring women in non-traditional areas were successful. Sorry, I missed your second question.
Yeah, Gulshan, so I quickly wanted you to tell us, are the women in the region willing to partner, and what modes of partnership with investors do you think they will like? I understand that so far all the experiments are through donors, and so therefore, my feeling, and I travel a lot in GB, it's like second home. There is a hesitance when we talk of investment. They think of the grant-based models and how the donors, in a way, that has spoiled the ability for them to emerge, in their private space. So that is what I wanted to ask.
Okay. I mean, you're right in a way, because I think the idea or the perception was presented in a very commercial way. That's why maybe some people, I would not say all, but some people have, their own reservations or they are reluctant. But what's happening on the ground? So I will relate it again with, the reality. If you see on the ground, there are women-led businesses. And if you go and ask them, where do they get the ideas, who help them? It is by some of the leading investors, who visited, or they had exposure, or they got to know each other, or, some linkages which help them. So for me, being women from the same area, I think that is one big indicator that if they get a little exposure, if they get a little help, there is willingness. There is no cultural, social barriers which restrict them from doing anything. It is only the matter of, creating the right connection, the right perception and, explaining the real concept of business or industry or commerce, that it will not be, something which will exploit you, but it will contribute into your own economy, your household economy, and your betterment. So I think the approach really matters. Whoever is approaching has to be very clear, has to be, has to go very systematically and explain why, what, and, by whom. I don't think it will be an issue. Yeah, I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, Gulshin, thank you so much. And, please stay online because there are going to be questions. I already saw my friend Usman Omani from PPAF raising her hand. But before we go forward, I want to welcome Salman Shah Saab, who's just joined us. For those of you who are watching globally and do not know him, he's currently the advisor to the Chief Minister Punjab on economic affairs, planning and development, but he is former finance minister of Pakistan. He has chaired the Privatization Commission, unending sets of achievements, but Salman Saab is a man who I think I rate as somebody who has worked in the private finance space as much or more than in the fiscal space. So Salman Saab Shah, the question to you today, first, welcome. And the question to you today is, you gave us some advice at the beginning of these webinars, but for today, this is the last webinar before the GB Investment Conference on the 24th. First and foremost is, how do you see this partnership, the government of Baltistan and ourselves, GB, and given GB's particular status, what do we need to do to attract and really get some small private deals going, number one? And number two, maybe if you can bring in CPEC and the Chinese, because as you know, they're already investing quite a lot near the border in Sust and elsewhere. They're investing in transport, and now there is investment interest from Kazakhstan as well and other countries. So Salman Saab, please enlighten us. Thank you. Please unmute yourself, Salman.
Great. Thank you, Ahmed. Thanks for the introduction. It's always a pleasure to be able to participate in such innovative events which you are always coming up with, and this is a great event. If we can organize knowledge about Gilgit-Baltistan to a bigger audience, I think this would be almost a game changer for Gilgit-Baltistan. As I mentioned in my earlier interjections in the first webinar, number one, the Gilgit-Baltistan government, we must work with the Gilgit-Baltistan government to develop a plan, a special plan for this region. And in that, they can look at the economics of all of the area, what are the sectors which are going to be on their priority list, and how the private sector can have a bigger role in Gilgit-Baltistan. So I think the first thing is that we must work with the GB government and develop a plan for overall territory or province, if you may call it a province, which so the second thing would be that in my point of view, tourism is going to definitely be one of the top priority areas, and developing an ecosystem for tourism has many dimensions. So one is lodging and boarding, accessibility to the various sites, arranging institutional support in the private sector for bringing logistics support for tourists who come into the region and be able to spend a good couple of weeks over here and have a full calendar of activities and be able to move from one place to another. That ecosystem has to be created, and it has to be comfortable, and it has to be well planned, and it has to be connected with the world. These days we can do everything electronically, and so that thing has to. So I think that tourism, if we can focus on tourism and we can bring in proposals where actually investors can start the work rather than just be aware of the situation. So one thing is definitely that area. The second thing which you just mentioned about CPEC, that has a big opportunity, because this is the first part of Pakistan which is by road connected to China. And we know that the border at Sust has some infrastructure. We have warehouses, and maybe access is not as easy as it should be. And the infrastructure has to be much bigger than what it is right now. Because if we are going to get a lot more traffic on the road, and the big trailers are going to be moving through that area, the entire system for that kind of logistics has to be developed, which means places where the players in this industry can live. We need rest houses, guest houses, warehouses, and also a lot of these things would be for the local people to also be part of this and be able to participate in this greater trade, because it's not only going to be one-sided, it can be two-sided trade. And so the whole area bordering China can be developed into a production system for the Chinese market as well. So not only will they be able to receive the Chinese goods and services, but they can also be a base for exporting it into China as well. So in that sense, I think GB has a competitive advantage which no other province has. And so I think that would be a second area. And the third area, which I think is also very important, is the energy sector. And Gilgit-Baltistan has a lot of hydel potential, and we can look at it in the sense that small and medium hydel potential and even large hydel potential can attract a lot of investment. And if the whole area has energy at a very low price and green energy, I think that would be another big area where we can get enormous amounts of investments going. And these could be public-private partnerships. So those opportunities are also very important. And we need some institutions to be in place which can actually do these things. So that those gaps have to be filled. And the fourth area, I think, is the mineral and mining area, which is very big in GB. It's very unexplored, but when you are walking through the area or driving through the area, you can almost see the potential of the mineral economy over there. And so at least at the exploratory stage, we can bring out information of where the exploration sites are or where they can be, and what is the system which will allow explorations to take place. And if we have some confirmed kind of mineral deposits, those can be brought to the market as well. So I think there is a plate full of initiatives which can be done. It's a very, very, endowed, well-endowed area, underdeveloped, needs a lot of financing and investment, and has great potential. So I think, Amir, what you are doing, ultimately, I see you will be able to bring in the needed exposure to this area and bring in the investment which is needed. And I think it will be a very profitable investment.
Dr. Thank you very much, Salman bhai. But if I may ask just one quick question. I mean, last time you had mentioned about the fact that, you need to develop a portfolio of projects, a spatial plan along with it. One of the things I think that even BOI lacks at this moment, the central BOI in Islamabad, is the ability of what in our bank terms, both financial and lending multilaterals, is called a project development facility. So, the ability to access not just a project development facility, but the facility being having the capacity to do something which is needed beyond PC1s. So the question to you is, we have been struggling to identify and tell both the UNDP, government of GB, and the government of Pakistan that we are doing this initiative because we want to be that bridge. And so how does one engender further trust so that the government partnership with the GB initiative that we are now, this is a first level partnership, but we want to take it forward and actually attract capital to bring capital. This is the concept. So some advice on that, how we can go about that.
I think one, I don't know the development institutions that exist on the ground over there. But for example, in Punjab, we have a PPP authority, and the PPP authority has a component which is called the Project Development Facility. And so when the government, on the government side, any department wants to do some project, we have the funding to enable the feasibilities and the reports to be prepared. And once they are done, then the project is taken into the market. So I think you are very right in that we need a project development facility type arrangement. And that has to come maybe through the GB government and a private party like yourself. You can have an MOU under which there could be an exploration of different areas and maybe some allocations for developing project pipeline for the government entity, which might be GB Investment Authority or something like that. And they can have this kind of facility to build up the pipeline. So I think this would be a good idea, good initiative, that we need a pipeline of projects so that we can take them to the market. And to develop the pipeline, you need some funding. And that funding can come from the GB government and even from the private sector or the donors.
True that. Dr. Saab, again, thank you so much. And again, very kind of you to join and do some closing words from your side. I do hope to see you at least online on the 24th. We'll send you the schedule and do raise your hand. We'd love to have you say a few words in front of the audience in Dubai. Dr. Ishrat is going to be there, and a lot of other people that your friends. Again, thank you so much. I see the minister.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I see the minister, Senior Minister for Trade, Abedullah Beg Saab. Abed Saab, please, can you unmute yourself? And we would like you to provide some words for the people, our audience, the investors, around what the government of GB is doing and this whole public-private collaboration. Because in a way, Abed, right, we have already started the public-private partnership through this GB initiative and the government of GB. So over to you, sir.
First of all, Assalamu alaikum to all the listeners and spectators and who are interested in investment in the GB. Then I would like to say this much, that GB government is welcoming all our well-wishers who so wants to invest in Gilgit-Baltistan. Especially, we have various fields like tourism, hotel management, and then minerals, and various, you can say, thrill-seeking, adventure-type activities. As you know, Gilgit-Baltistan is very rich in mountains, lakes, and likewise fauna, flora, and so many things which can be explored in our Gilgit-Baltistan. We have various languages at very short distances. We are rich in culture. We are the very primitive. We have the Indus civilization, and these anybody who is really interested to invest, and he can easily harvest that hard work in Gilgit-Baltistan easily. And we are grateful to the GB Invest initiative, which is taken by the Rupani Saab, and he has done a lot in giving the trainings, apart from the providing education to the young students. So likewise, some people who are working in hotel and hospitality management, they have also come up, and we are hopeful in time to come, so many people will come and invest in the hotel side as well. We have lakes like Atabad, we have lake at Khalti, and we have beautiful natural beauty at Funder as well. And we have long glaciers like Boltoro, like Soltoro, Biafo. Outside the polar region, we have the maximum, you can say, glaciers. And we have a lot to show the world how these can be explored. It depends on our, you can say, investors. So I would like if our well-wishers who so wants to have the linkage with China, with CIS states, we have that much of, you can say, strategic location which connects all these countries in a better manner. So for promoting this thing, I would also, I will agree with the Salman Shah Saab, the way he said, in that GB government is also interested to establish a fund or authority on this GB Invest. And apart from that, at the moment, we are heading towards the provincial status. In that, federal government can give us a strong support, that through which we can make an authority like GB Investment Authority. Through that, we can give the people some packaging, some package or some concession. Through that, people can invest in GB as well.
Thank you very much, Minister Saab. Minister Saab has made a very excellent point that, the GB is not only open for business, open for investment, but is also encouraging private partnerships, and basically the GB Invest initiative, which is a partnership between Rupani, Rina, Jirapaid, University of Baltistan, and Karakoram International University. And I think, Minister Saab, one of the things to point out here is that, as Salman Saab was saying, what we are trying to do is go beyond a traditional project development facility, a pipeline for development facility that enables rapid investment, is by having 3 key academic partners. We are also bringing a lot of research into some of the issues that could otherwise plague investors, things like how to manage risk better. But I would like to invite now, we have one of the PTV anchors, Tayyaba Nisar Khan. Mansoor, if you could unmute her and turn on her camera. She'd just like to say, have a few quick questions before we wait for Hassan Daud, and then maybe Gulchin can also participate and answer some of her questions. Tayyaba, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Wa alaikum assalam. So go ahead, Tayyaba, you had a few questions.
Okay, perfect. So I have a few questions. I wouldn't be able to turn on my camera. I hope that's okay for now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the first question that I have is that, of course, Pakistan has to achieve the SDGs target. And of course, we know that Pakistan has been ranked among the top 20 countries globally, which is impacted by climate change. So how can we ensure that the investment opportunities that are directed towards Gilgit-Baltistan, which is basically the cradle for the water of Pakistan and so many other important factors as well, how can we ensure that we invest and develop more towards circular economy rather than and you know, we try to build access towards climate friendly economy more than the other, you know, non-renewable sources where we work towards that, number one. So number two is, how do we ensure the youth is more so included in the investment opportunities as well? Because we see that a lot of investment opportunities are given to those who have a lot of experience, which is great, but we also need more youth to come up with new ideas, because the youth are the one who actually have the more creative side towards, and it's been very, very much as well recorded in research as well, that as you grow, the creativity can, the brain cells, you know, there's a hormone which develops creative capacity, which is of course more in children, and then as you grow it reduces. So the youth of course has a huge impact. And lastly, some of the people of Gilgit-Baltistan, they have this fear that their culture could be adulterated. How can this fear be addressed in the investment opportunities?
Well, Tayyaba, thanks for these questions. I mean, are you implying that my creative cells are dying? I hope not. I think Rupani Saab and me, especially Nadeem and the likes of them, would not really like this. But no, you're absolutely right. So to answer these questions, I mean, we will quickly, I mean, if I can, when you read it, we are basically targeting a circular economy, which means that we are doing things in a very sustainable manner with a particular focus. And that's what impact investment is all about. I think you joined when I presented that one of the key things we're looking at is women participation, and that's how we will be measuring the investment outcomes and youth inclusion. And last but not least, you know, bringing GB people centrally into the investment structure. And we'll have more talks about this as you and I discuss it. And I hope to highlight that further in a few days on the 24th conference. But taking all these questions forward, I have Yasir Ishfaq Saab, the CEO of Pakistan Microfinance Investment Company. Mansoor, can you unmute Yasir? And then I want to give the mic also to Muzaffaruddin Saab. So Yasir, are you there?
Yes.
Please also show us, yeah. So Yasir is an old friend. I invited Yasir to give us a perspective from where he sits, heading the Pakistan Microfinance Investment Company. So Yasir, please go ahead.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and also inviting me for the conference. So, yeah, I mean, I have visited GB a few times, and I see a huge opportunity. But when I look at the numbers, especially, I mean, there's been some discussion of how to include the, you know, local youth entrepreneurs into this whole process and give them, you know, maximum benefits. But when I look at the numbers of financial inclusion, and something that is also our responsibility, they are almost half, on average, they are almost half than the, you know, countrywide average. And even that half is pretty, you know, low. So out of almost 1.25 million people living in that region, just 26,000 individuals actually get loan for their, you know, requirements. So if you look at the whole ecosystem, you know, the tourism ecosystem, there could be several opportunities. And the last time I went there was in summers last year. And when I had, discussions with a number of people, right from, people who were driving cars on rental to shopkeepers and women mentioned earlier, running their small kiosks and cafes. All of them did, highlight that, these small kind of businesses are actually the real flavor of tourism that one wants to get. And we do visit there not to, yes, we would like to have better hotels, more clean and neat, but we'd like to also enjoy the local sort of food and local, traditions as well. But to maintain those, to even, compete with the larger businesses that are coming out from outside the GB, I think these people do require resources, financial resources. Otherwise, I mean, they're more educated than the rest of the country. We all know that they are much more, I mean, if you rent a car and your driver would be able to understand, speak a little bit of English as well, and he has a whole business plan going forward. So he's not going to stop. I mean, you would experience, and when you talk to them, they would not stop at just one business. They have multiple, ideas to explore. So what we are currently thinking of, and I would like to be part, to be guided by those who are living there, and especially those who are making the policy, we would like to be guided by them, is to work with several institutions, and especially a couple of microfinance institutions, and provide them some, kind of risk participation facility to start working in GB. There are just one or two institutions currently, First Microfinance Bank, who's working there. So I mean, what we plan to do is to provide them initial sort of, risk participation facility. So these institutions can start their operations, provide the appropriate loans and loan sizes to women and men. For example,
Sir, if I may, sorry to interrupt. Because we have limited time, I just want to ask you a very targeted question. Is it not, and I've had this chat with Amir Khan, who's FMFB, you know him very well. Is it not for the absence of really innovative instruments that the microfinance institutions have to now come up with? Like, for example, the guarantee facility that you mentioned. I would like to see you, even if you can't do loans directly to larger investors, how do you actually provide some risk assessments at the social and collective societal level for the investors coming? I'd like to make that happen. So what can you do on this?
See, our mandate is not to provide medium-sized loans to medium-sized enterprises, but more into micro entrepreneurs, roughly up to 3 million. So what I'm saying is that, let's say if an institution wants to provide up to 2.5 million rupees of loan to an individual entrepreneur, we can guarantee it up to 50%. So that's the kind of structure that we are currently, designing, and almost in the final stages. So that is how we want to proceed.
No, Shah, Yasser, thanks a lot, and sorry for cutting you off. Would have loved to keep you online. We have some other questions, but again, stay online because there may be questions for you if you can. I'd like to bring in very quickly Uzma Nomani. Are you there from Pakistan Poverty Fund? If you're there, please raise your hand. Ladies and gentlemen, before I bring in the last speaker, let me just say that everybody, we have disabled the chat because I'm getting old. I can't keep up with all the questions. So I'd love to have all of you just raise your hands. We will try and give, because we are going to go another 15 minutes. So everyone who wants to ask a question, please raise your hands, identify yourself before you ask a question. So before that, our last speaker of the day, and Muzaffar Saab, please hold your thoughts. I'll also ask you. Uzma, Hassan has just joined. He will be leaving shortly. Just stay online. You have been identified. So I would like to hand the floor over as terms of a closing to Mr. Hassan Dawood. Hassan has enormous experience in investment targeting, but more and more, he's currently the chairman of the KP-BOIT, the Board of Investment and Technology. And before that, he was director CPEC. He brings a very unique perspective, having lived in China. So Hassan, thank you. I know you did missed all the webinar. In the few words and some comments that I got, they said this was the mother of all GB Invest roadshows between the speakers, the advice that we have gotten. So please go ahead. You have about 5 minutes. Thanks, Hassan.
Thank you, Amir Bhai, and I think this gives me a lot of encouragement in terms of, and I'll tell you the reason a little later. But first of all, my apologies for joining late. Tajik ambassador was here, and we had this longish discussion on regional connectivity. And I'm just pitching this up because, globally and also regionally, a lot of things are happening which are in the interest of Gilgit-Baltistan. But how should we go there? I'll give my own understanding and roadmap. And I'm sure the public sector stakeholders and also from the private sector would work on that. I also know that in GB, you have these pragmatic, quite efficient chambers also, and they look at, but I think now let me give you, and please take me in the same essence in which I will speak, and then I will highlight few things which supported us when we were showcasing our potential and opportunities in the Dubai Expo in our investment conference. So first of all, I think we need to identify low-hanging fruits, and those low-hanging should be actually realistic in terms of its implementation with given timelines. Sometimes we go overboard in giving a very glorified picture of what could be achieved in very limited time. I think every project or every assignment takes its own time and energy. So based on that, I remember when I was in CPEC, and these were early days of CPEC, and till the time I left, a lot of attention was around GB. A lot of discussion was around GB, not just because of its tourism potential, because of its connectivity potential with China. And I think in terms of air connectivity, land route connectivity, there's a huge amount of work where investment can come. We can have private airlines running between China and rest of the regional countries away from China, and then connecting it with Gilgit-Baltistan. Please remember that COVID, while it had its physical toll and on the economies, I think areas like Gilgit-Baltistan, which are just next to economic hub like China, have huge potential for attracting Chinese tourism. When I was doing my Chinese language course back in 2008 and 9, most of my classmates were from Gilgit-Baltistan. You have easy access to China. So what most of us living in south of Pakistan dream of, China has, in terms of connectivity, GB has been naturally gifted for that. And it's just matter of, in terms of tourism, eco-friendly tourism, just identify, do research on what sort of investment and what sort of attraction you can create within your own cultural norms, preserving your environment and attracting investment from China and countries we do business with China. For instance, Malaysia, tourism they've been doing. So attract them to come and do your feasibility work. Tell Chinese to come and do your feasibility work. Ye public sector approach perhaps may not be, it is useful because it creates that synergy, but it does not create the kind of jump start approach that we really need in Gilgit-Baltistan. I've been following largely because of Amir Dorani, but also because of social media. I've been following the activities and the kind of interest that I've seen. I am closely associated with Pakistan Business Council Dubai. I'm closely associated with Abu Dhabi, and I am seeing them looking at GB as an investment zone where they can go next time. So first of all, look at those investors who are keen to invest in tourism, keen to invest in livestock, because you have natural, unique endowment as far as agriculture and livestock is concerned. You have, I remember one of the Chinese when I was sleeping CPAC, and even now in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, approaching me from sitting in GB, approaching me and telling me that there are rare, these natural products which are used in cosmetics that Chinese use and also in their herbal medicine. So please identify those. We've been speaking about this for many years since the inception of CPAC, but I think it's now time for us to deliver. So if I would now rate in terms of set up Mokpandas ASAP and not limited to say 300-acre zone, increase the size of it to have different sectors from tourism to agri-based industry to value addition to mines and minerals. Huge potential Mokpandas. Improve your rail and air and road connectivity in terms of ease of doing business of facilities. I remember I was asked to open the border post. We worked with the Chinese custom for many weeks, and then eventually when they were allowed to open for weekends also, only 2 trucks of Chalgozas were passing. So I think there's a huge potential. You need to work with your neighbors, both in Pakistan side and also region-wise, and then ask them what are their requirements. Improve your airport in terms of attracting tourism from China. Provide them the kind of facilities and permissible facilities. They like adventure tourism. They like the kind of food that GB offers. They like the kind of culture that GB offers, and they like the terrain that GB offers. So please, and I know speakers before me must have spoken about this, but I'm just trying to highlight that I know several Chinese investors who are and were keen to invest, and I know and for sure that many in Dubai are keen to come and invest in tourism sector, especially in water sports. We do not have a good water sports facility, and you are naturally blessed for water sports and adventure tourism. Thirdly, in terms of mines and minerals, just identify based on if there is a negative list of, just avoid that, and within the areas where you can immediately do trade, talk to the investors, use Dubai as a stepping stone for reaching out to other investors. Use this as a potential avenue where the videos that you made, I'm sure, and the presentations that you've crafted, use them elsewhere. Spread them through social media to rest of the world, to rest of the Middle East. And now that you've done good work in Dubai, and I'm sure the investment conference would be a huge success, follow that up with having investment conference in other Middle Eastern countries. You have the material available that you have prepared. You have the kind of understanding that you have, and I'm sure your public sector stakeholders would learn from this exposure that they get. So use that exposure and material to showcase this in, say, Saudi Arabia and also to Qatar and Kuwait, where there are investors willing to. And then perhaps we can move together to Central Asian and China as the travel restrictions are over. So potential is there, but please, please, please set up timelines, set up low-hanging fruits target, and then achieve them. It is usually people say it's easier said than done, but I believe based on my own experience and exposure and linkages with investors for last 10 years, I assure you GB much easier than KP, much easier than Sindh, much easier than Punjab can be heaven for investment in tourism and mining sector. Thank you so much.
Hassan, thank you very much. I mean, just to carry on again, first, thanks for taking out the time and thanks for those very targeted pointers. I'm sure all the investors and all the stakeholders was listening. And you know, you talked to the Tajik ambassador. I had a very long chat. The Kazakh ambassador actually was kind enough to come and visit me. And as you know, that Mr. Kistafin was previously Kazakh ambassador to the USA, and so which means that Pakistan has suddenly gained huge importance in terms of focus of the Central Asian countries. not to be lost, if not for one reason, that the similarity of cultures across the Wakhan Strip, the ease of moving through Khorgos into China, through Xinjiang, Kashgar, down to GB. I think these are great opportunities, but let me now quickly start taking some questions. First, I'll move to Usman Omani, then to Muzaffaruddin, and then Khurram, and then Muhammad Hassan. So over to you, Uzmak. If you can please turn on your camera and also turn on your mic. Mansoor, help her out. 30-second intervention, please, Uzmak.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Usman Umani from Pakistan Poverty Elevation Fund. This is a very interesting talk. And we know that GB has great potential for tourism, but we also need to build potential in GB to manage this tourism. One of the participants has already mentioned climate-friendly economy and circular economy. My question is to Gulchi Akil. She mentioned experiments on gemstone cutting and other experimentations. So what are the 3 or 4 key areas where you see energy integrated women entrepreneurship can be developed, or the experiments that you know that are successful? So could you please mention those 3-4 key areas?
Thank you very much. I'll keep that question for Gulchin Akil. Gulchin, are you there? Can you quickly respond? Oh, okay, excellent. Go over. And before you respond, Uzma, one of the participants, in fact, the core mover and shaker behind our initiative is Rupani Foundation. And Nasruddin Rupani happens to be the head of the World Diamond, what he called Congress, and is already using trained staff from GB for polishing and cutting, which is really an area. So over to you, Gulchin.
Thank you, Amir Saab. I mean, if I look back on my experiences and what's happening already there, I think the potential areas are no doubt energy. I mean, we have a lot of water resources, and there are examples where, in communities, women are actually managing, these small micro hotels, and they are earning a lot of, revenues. They are selling it to the neighboring communities. It was not done on large scale, but wherever it was done, I think it was very successful. Something very new, non-traditional, inspiring, motivating for many others with low cost. So that is definitely one, one thing that one can explore. The other thing is, gemstones and cutting. Wherever we did these small projects, they were very successful. It contributed a lot in the household and the community economy. I think it is still there, but it was not maybe, explored as to the extent that we were expecting because of a lot of other, factors who are in this business and who are, taking advantages and profits coming from rest of the Pakistan to the GB area. So maybe there is need for, to regularize, to have some policies, some systems where it is contributing more to the local community. And specifically, I would say to young women who are much interested in technical skills, who are much interested in, these new areas. The other thing, I think the third thing, if I put it very rightly, is, emerging tourism, home-based tourism. I visited last year and I was really impressed that single mothers, for example, widows, just renovating some corners of their homes, getting help from microfinance or other, financial institutes or institutions, they were able to spare a portion of their home and run it as, rest houses, and some of them are already on Airbnb. So I was like really impressed. Offering local food, giving complete local environment, showing local context, local culture, and people were more attracted. And you find these hundreds of videos on YouTube that millions of people are watching them. And it is increasing, it is growing. So yes, why not just giving them some skills, connecting them with the right, I think, institution, public, private, who can harness their skills, who can help them to actually secure and flourish their businesses. Because one other aspect, with all this COVID and new changes, that women are pushed actually to, explore new areas to, sustain their economies, to sustain their livelihoods. but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to approach to financial institution. They don't know how to secure their businesses. There is a lot happening, unfortunately, fraud, cyber crimes, bullying, harassment. So these areas, I think, needs to be also looked at by all the audience, who's presented here. How we can ensure that women who dare to, break the barriers and enter in non-traditional areas are safe and secure and can, flourish their businesses. So, there are like number of things, but these three potential areas just came in my mind quickly because I saw them and I was really impressed. I hope I answered your question, Uzma.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And Uzma, if we go down to the Cage region, you see that this is a matriarchal society for the last almost half a century, which gives us a great example of how we could promote similar security. And I think the security comes from within, which you have seen in the case of when you go down to Gwadar, to Keturba, to the Cage region, you'll see that there are reasons behind why women dominate both in business as well as in adjudication as well as ownership. So I think the primary thing is that when women come into business, the ability for them to own both land, business, their stores, their factories, whatever they're doing, I think that's good. I think Shikam, again, Alteet Fort, just for the audience, I had a lovely experience in 2018. I landed there at, landed means I had just driven about 2,800 kilometers across Shandur, full of dirt and mud, on my motorcycle, of all the things. And at night, these women came out, and I was a little shocked that even the porters were women. And when I looked at them, no, I'll, a traditional male sort of patriarchal statement saying, please let me carry my own luggage. I said, no, we are supposed to do this. I was so nice to actually, same thing. Nobody, could wash my cycling gear. But, I just was 2 days kind of, despite having been in 60 plus countries, it was just an experience. So I'm quite sure that the GB women are totally capable and empowered and will make sure that the ownership is there. Quick questions to Muzaffaruddin Saab, are you online? If you are, please let him unmute his mic and his camera. If he can turn it on. Muzaffar Saab, the ex-general manager of AKRSP, he now wears 4 hats. I can't remember all of them, but he's one of the great workers in the community-driven development sector and entrepreneurship in Pakistan. Muzaffar Saab, just a minute or two if you want to intervene, then I have other questions. So I think Muzaffar Saab, Mansoor, is he there? Okay, in the meantime, let me give the floor to Khurram and then to Muhammad Hassan. Over to you, Khurram. 2 minutes. Khurram Mushtaba, are you there?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, how are you doing? So good to, it was a great, session, and I think I learned a lot. One comment I have is, I don't know whether somebody is actually doing on the training side of the investors or not. Because what I have noticed is FDI is one thing, and people are aware, or the big funds are aware of that, how to actually come about investing on the bigger projects. But what has been happening is, I think the major investment, which is like very easily can be drawn into the actual region, hasn't been able to actually tap in. And those very people who want to sort of like come into this whole bigger picture aren't really aware of it, or they have a kind of like a problematic way of moving forward in terms of the actual legislation or setting up a structure or funding mechanism to flow in the money. So it's not just about the actual creating a legal structure and through that flowing the money, but also like a practical training. I think like a lot of seminars can be actually, conducted, and we can have like all these conference calls and all that. But I think if somebody has to actually step forward, if nobody's doing it, to train them in a workshop style, to give them the opportunity that this is the book of opportunity and that's how you go about it. And that's where the real pathway is missing. You can drop like a 70-page document, but that document is not going to actually tell them how to walk that path. So I think some practical steps need to be taken in terms of the actual, putting them in one roof or and just
I
like,
think
hey,
that
you
as you move forward with us, and I know that Jumpstart has expressed interest to participate in both the conference on the 24th as well as later on in March. You will realize that we already have set up an initiative called GB Tech Hive, which does exactly what you have said. So you raise a very key point, and I hope that with your sort of experience, we can improve the facility that we've already created. But an excellent point made there. So maybe I can go now to Sir Muzaffar Saab. You'll have to wait because I asked Mohammed before you joined. So Mohammed Hassan Saab, 30 seconds, and then the floor to Muzaffar Saab. Mansoor, can we unmute Mohammed Hassan?
She's unmuted.
Yeah,
Hassan
thank
Saab,
you very
please.
much, Amit Durrani sir.
Please identify yourself, Mohammed Saab.
Yes, Mohammed Hassan. I'm a resident of GB. So I will be speaking on in the context of what has been said by the panelists, and I really appreciate that. And I recognize my very old friend and senior minister, Colonel Ubaid Saab, and Hassan Dawood, with whom I had the privilege of working together some time ago. I fully agree that GB has enormous investment opportunities. And I also agree that there are lots of investors willing to come to GB. But I would like to flag a few points which are prerequisite for getting investment into GB. The first thing is the enabling environment. For investors, the basic thing is the basic infrastructure, the roads, the communication, the other things, the internet facilities. And then they also need the legal framework for those. Unfortunately, none of these are available in GB. For example, you have an international airport at Skardu. When you get out of the airport, you land up on a broken road, and then no internet facility in the town. And how are the investors, or even for that matter, the tourists going to feel about it? I don't know. Yes, I also agree with Dr. Salman Shah Saab, very pertinent points he raised. He said that there are three areas where there is enormous opportunities. Those are the mining, tourism, and hydro. And again, the same problem. There is no mining policy in the mineral policy in the GB. There is no policy for hydro electricity generation by private sector. And even, I must say that in GB, you focus only on the hydro, it will become the probably the richest entity in Pakistan, richer than the four provinces even. When I was once working in our embassy in Beijing, a company from the Beijing, they came and said they want to invest $15 billion. I'm talking about some 15 years ago. $15 billion for electric generation in one of the projects. Unfortunately, that was not awarded that because there are legal issues at the moment. So the second point is that there is a sense of within the people of GB that the investors are coming for taking advantage of the area and exploiting the local population. So where comes the local area people in that? That is more important. Finally, one point about CPEC, I think, and my friend Hassan Dawood will bear me out. Yes, CPEC, GB is the gateway of CPEC. But when it comes to the CPEC projects, it starts from where GB finishes. There is not even a single CPEC project in GB of the 40 or $50 billion, and that's not by coincidence, that's by design. So don't talk of CPEC anymore when you are talking about GB. It is not a game changer for GB at all. Yes, you can invest in hydroelectric generation. You can invest in trout fish farming, enormous opportunities. In fact, some of the Western companies are ready to invest in that. So, and lastly, what you need to do
Hassan,
is to
may I just
take the
ask?
local population into it.
Yeah, that's very good points, Hassan. May I just ask, what is your current affiliation for the audience to understand?
Well, I'm ambassador of Pakistan in Indonesia, and I belong to Baltistan.
Ah, thank you very much, Excellency. Good to. I was wondering the flag is covered, so I thought this would be one of our ambassadors or a DCM. But anyways, nice to have you here, Mohammed. I think from the Gilgit-Baltistan perspective, four quick answers before I go to Muzaffar. First and foremost, look, I mean, I agree with you 100%. But the problem is sometimes, Punjab has built enormous amount of roads. It's not everywhere that you can find mobility, which means does a public transport run there, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in GB, we are thinking as impact investors that sometimes investment brings the demand for what I think is connectivity and this. Second, on the CPEC, you're absolutely right. Not a single project. The only correction is the new fiber connectivity, and I have taken pictures of it riding down on my motorcycle just last year. I mean, just before Chris, you can see that fiber is there. And yes, certain parts of GB have been given access to that. So that is one investment that has come through. Now the question is, how do we actually make this happen? The 24/7 operation of SUST, which was not there at the border, is now actually happening. I'm also witness to that. Though the people of GB are not benefiting from that, that also has to be taken into thing. Last but not least, what we are trying to do here and on the 24th is to bring in a lot, not a $15 billion investment, just a lot of small 100,000 to $500,000 investments in which the people are partners to go around this problem of, as you said, the autonomous region. And we can have an offline chat on this because I'd love to continue talking to you on this. But in the interest of time, Muzaffar Saab, if you want to say a few words.
Amit Saab, can I just say one thing
Please,
on what,
Hassan. Please, Hassan.
Especially on the CPEC part, COVID had its toll on some of the activities, but I think there's huge, just in the neighboring areas of GB, there's a huge potential. Let's forget about potential. Let's talk on business sense and where people make money. I think if you can find some private sector partners from Urumqi, Kashi, and in these areas, there are people with a lot of money to come and invest in your infrastructure. They had already highlighted in one of the discussions that happened in Mofa back. Please reactivate the sister city. And I remember Hassan Saab was extremely instrumental. We went together to Xinjiang and then they visited us. I think reinstitute and aggressively, I think the government, Karan Saab is here, should reactivate the sister city protocols that you have. And just look at the document that you signed, perhaps that was in 18 or 19, on the investment that Chinese were willing to do immediately in GB. Bring private partners from Dubai and from within Pakistan. And I think, Amir Durrani, your institutions and institutions like yours need to do hand-holding. You guys can also make money out of the profit that is there. And, doing a national duty also. I agree on the vocational training part, but don't generalize that. Vocational training on tourism, one big investment by multinational investors will create the kind of pull factor that you need. Infrastructure, government ki responsibility hai that they have to do, and they have to make up to the promises that they have made. So these are my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hassan. And I think you, me, and maybe Muhammad Hassan Excellency has to carry on a conversation. Maybe Hassan Saab, I'd love if you could just on the chat box give Mansoor your email address and your phone. So we would like to take you online or just for a few pieces of advice. But I think that where I do have to bring to the audience's notice is that in the modern world, it is not the government's responsibility to provide infrastructure. It is a demand-driven activity. And if the government ignores it, as Dr. Nadeemul Haq very rightly said, Shahid Sattar mentioned this, that, those who wanted created a city out of nowhere in the desert in Reno, Nevada. The same thing has happened in Dubai. And please understand that Dubai is not a government. It is a commercial government, even to the extent that as you know, the Port and Customs Authority is actually a private enterprise. So we cannot say that it cannot happen. I think right now, with the help of being at the mouth of CPEC, there is a huge opportunity. But Hassan Saab, Mohammed Hassan Saab, thank you very much. A lot of friends, and now I think I'll gain a new friend in the Foreign Office. Over to Muzaffar Saab quickly. Muzaffaruddin Saab.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Muzaffar. Awaz aa rahi hai, sir?
Yes, very clear. You are the last intervention, so make it nice and something good for people to remember.
Thank you very much. I think thanks for this opportunity, and I was listening patiently all these discussion. Amazing things moving forward. Congratulations to GB Invest and all your efforts. Because being from northern Pakistan and working here for a long time, organizing donor conference, investment conferences, I think this one is, and I remember many people have highlighted it. If it is people-centered, privately led, government support, I think things will happen. So I think this GB Invest has all the ingredients and moving forward in the right direction. I will just make a short comment. I was, maybe you remember, I was in Dubai. We had also a panel discussion on, just to warm up the GB Invest happening in Dubai. So, and I got opportunity to have meeting with a couple of very good entrepreneurs, and also with the, investors also. So I think I will, because many points have been brought forward, particularly Dawood Saab and Hassan Saab. I was really pleased Hassan Saab talked about his heart and being from northern Pakistan. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We will connect with you. So I think two things which I found very important from the government side. We all need to work on that. I hope our honorable ministers are listening to this. One is reactivation of Board of Investment. Government policy, if you want to bring any investment, Board of Investment is very important. And GB, I think we all has to work for this. Secondly, I think the PPP authority has been already enacted, but need to make it functional. This is also a very important. These two things are an immediate a need if we want to bring investment forward. So Board of Investment and Public-Private Partnership Authority need to come forward to enable, at least the first stepping stone. The second, for private sector, I think we also need to, the private sector also need to organize. It was really rightly said by that there are here private sector. Maybe Invest is one very good forum that can bring private sectors together. So we need to bring the right local private partners. I think GB Invest is a right forum. What I gathered interestingly in Dubai, I think the message which you are carrying forward, nature, human, but one thing which is very important, which I think for Gilgit-Baltistan is digital. We have to bring, this digital at the core of our all business initiatives. So because of our mountain natural setting, these roads will never happen, because of this huge gigantic mountains. It will take time. So that is one area which we all need to focus. And we have to attract these all digital technological led initiatives and investment. And of course, apart from natural human resource, most of you really mentioned human resource is very important. The other area which I really was surprised to know, in Dubai, when we met many investors, we found behind all of these investment, most of them have Chinese investors who are, of course, who are not on the front, but they are on the back. So I think we have to reorient, and I will request, why not we should have a similar kind of workshop in somewhere in even Kashgar, and we can start from Kashgar. So we can have these investment kind of conference or initiative in Kashgar. Let's bring, because Chinese are our neighbors, so let's focus on them. So they are already there, and if you work in Dubai, also Chinese investors are, at the back. Chinese investments are there. And last, which I think, which I learned, this 1 week tour, I think we all has to look for a long-term view. I think there are some people, both from government side, private side, civil society, that GB Invest will bang and many things will happen. This will happen, and GB Invest is doing great. But I think we all has to be patient and have a long-term view. It's very, very important. And also we should focus on long-term longitudinal studies, because information is very important. Still, we can see in Gilgit-Baltistan, information is one major obstacle. Data is missing. So I think with these two focuses, I think hope things will happen. Positively. Good luck, and we are here. Thank you very much. We really enjoyed. This is one very important initiative, and I hope we all join with you and with this team, and with the long-term perspective. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And I have to thank all the speakers who stayed patiently all through. Shahid Bhai, you will be getting an email from us to make sure that we are able to showcase your offer, a letter of intent, on 24th in Dubai, in front of the Chief Minister and everybody else. Do you have any few last words? I think he's on a call. But Minister Abadullah Saab, if you can, you've heard everybody, if you can give us just a closing statement, just 30 seconds, because people are now tired, but I'd still like you to close the meeting. And I think this should charge you and make you understand that, inshallah, our partnership has a lot of potential. So over to you, Abadullah Saab.
Respected Durrani Saab, the way you have facilitated today's this all discussion and participation by our value-worthy speakers, they highlighted each and every sector which can be invested in Gilgit-Baltistan, whether it is from Chinese side or whether it is from the Dubai Forum or international forums. So inshallah, PTI government is determined to help each and every investor in Gilgit-Baltistan. And we have noted the various recommendations which have been given by our worthy participants, whether Honorable Ambassador or Muzaffar Saab and other, or Shahid Saab, and each and every spectator, each and every participant has given us very valuable recommendations, whether it is about the investment board for Gilgit-Baltistan, or but I will definitely appreciate your effort, as GB Invest has done a lot to attract the ideas, to gather the information, and inshallah, in times to come, GB would be excelling, whether it is tourism, whether it is minerals, whether it is, you can say, fruit value addition, or any sort of investment. And no doubt, Gilgit-Baltistan is the tourist destination in whole of the globe, and the way our aviation authorities are trying to make the things easier for the tourists. Likewise, our mineral and industries department is again reviewing the policies, and very soon we will reframe the things and policies, and it would be user-friendly, investors-friendly. And on the other hand, public-private partnership things, they are going to be, inshallah, very soon it will be enhanced, and government side and the people, communities, they are also very friendly, whether it is investment, whether it is any JV or sort of anything. At the end, I would pay respect and thanks to each and every participant and those other listeners who patiently listened all this debatable discussion and fruitful discussion. And Durrani sir, once again, I will thank a lot that you have taken all this pain, and I will thank the Sadruddin Rupani Saab and his complete team, Wasim Saab, and all people who have facilitated this productive, prudent discussion. So this would be my last word, that
Thank you so much.
inshallah,
Thank you so much,
Pakistan
Mr.
and
Saab.
Gilgit-Baltistan would be excelling very soon, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, sir. Thank you
Durrani
very
sir,
much. And with
really
this,
great.
I would like to close. I'd like to thank Shah Sattar Saab, Hassan Daud Saab, Gulchin, Siam, Nadeem Saab, Brigadier Amir. And I think we hope to be in touch with each and every one of you, especially Shah Sattar. You'll be hearing from GB Invest offices. Again, thank you everyone for staying. See you all on the 24th in Dubai.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Fi amanillah.